welcome back to the Graceful Tangle YouTube channel. I'm Amy Kate, a young passionate knitter and crocheter. You can find all of the links in the description box below for the places where you can find me on social media, so be sure to do that if you haven't already. And of course, if you haven't already subscribed to my channel, please go ahead and do that, and don't forget to hit the notification bell so that you can know each and every time I upload a new video. Alrighty, if you have been watching me for a little while, you know that I recently finished my huge, amazing Scrappy blanket. And I'm actually covered up under it right now. I just love this blanket so much. And ever since I finished it, I have gotten so many requests, so many suggestions for me to create a tutorial to show you how I made this blanket. So that is exactly what I'm going to do today. Now, throughout the tutorial, you will see me make a smaller swatch, and then at the end, I actually tell you my idea for that swatch. So, I'm really excited about it. It's going to be my next kind of Scrappy blanket adventure, I guess, and I am looking forward to see where it takes me. If you want some more details on that, be sure to comment down below at the end of the video, and I can for sure provide you with more information. I hope this tutorial is helpful for you. Please note that, as I mentioned in the tutorial, you can use any size hook, any size yarn, and make this blanket as big or as small as you want. It's entirely customizable. I am just taking a few minutes to show you kind of the basics and the ins and outs of the stitch and how to actually create it. So without further ado, let's go ahead and hop into the tutorial. Alrighty guys, so like I said in the intro video, the best method that I like to use to join my balls of scraps for my Scrappy blanket is by using magic knots, because it results in no ends, you don't have to weave anything in, and it's just a really simple way to do it. So I wanted to take a minute and show you how to tie a magic knot. First off, it is super simple, so don't be scared about it. I know it says it's magic, but that is because it is actual magic, as in it doesn't come undone, not that it's impossible to make. Okay, so we're going to start off with two balls of yarn, or two colors. I have one on my left and one on my right. Now, I have laid these two strands out in front of me, again, one going either direction. And all I'm going to do is lay my bottom strand over my top strand, and then bring it back down. So now it is looped around that pink strand. And then I'm going to go back through this loop, just like so. So I have literally just tied a knot, let me bring it up to show you, tied a knot around this pink strand of yarn. And then I'm just going to pull. And there we go, simply a knot around this strand. Now I'm going to do the same thing with this pink. So it was going over, and it's going to stay going over. I'm going to lay it over the yarn and go around to the back, just like so. And then bring it through that loop to finish off the knot and tighten, just like that. Next, I'm going to leave the ends hanging and pull my main working yarn tight. And you want to pull pretty tight so that you're certain that it's not going to come undone. And then that's it. And then the last step is just to take your scissors, oh, dropped them, and cut as close as you can to the knot. This is very awkward to do behind the camera, by the way. So now I'm just going to cut the other one. And there we go. That is your magic knot. So obviously this can be a little bit tricky to crochet around, but just completely ignore it, because even if they're shown a little bit on your work, it's not a big deal, because obviously people aren't going to think that this is one ball of yarn, right? Like, they're going to know that it's multiple balls of yarn, it's all your scraps, it's a super special memory-filled blanket, and that's what makes it such a fun project to work with. So crochet over the knots as best as you can, but also don't be worried about them, not blending in super duper well. Okay, so I have joined those two balls of yarn, but I'm actually going to set them aside and use a solid color to show you how to crochet this blanket, because I think it's going to be a lot easier for you to really see what I'm doing that way. So let me grab my materials and I'll be right back. Alrighty, so again for the tutorial today, I'm going to show you how to crochet this blanket with a solid color of yarn so that you can focus on my stitches instead of all of the different yarn colors. Now, I'm going to be using a size J 6mm crochet hook paired with a worsted weight yarn. This is exactly what I did for my Scrappy blanket that I made, and I have a video all about it. It'll be linked down below. You've all seen it. However, if you haven't, be sure to check out that video. But anyway, so that is the combination that I did for that blanket. Now again, it does not matter what hook you use, what yarn you use, what type of yarn. This is a blanket for you, and because of this stitch pattern and the way that it works, it is super easy to customize everything about it based on crochet hooks and yarn weights. So I guess kind of what I like to do is if you're using a fingering weight yarn, I would suggest an E to about a G. A G would give you a drapier gauge, an E would give you a smaller gauge, and then just kind of up the crochet hook size as you up the yarn weights. So if you want a little bit more information about that, let me know in the comments, because that's definitely something that I can provide and that I think would be a little bit useful. But in the long run, I am just going to pair a worsted weight yarn with a size J hook. So this is the corner to corner crochet method. Super simple method. It is used in so many other patterns too. I did not make this up. It is just a technique that is used for multiple patterns nowadays. So I am going to show you how to do it right now. To get started, we're going to make a slip knot and place that on our hook. And then we are going to chain 6. 4, 5, 6. Now, the way that this blanket works is you work these little individual squares. When you're increasing the blanket, you increase a square each row. When you're decreasing a blanket, you decrease a square each row, excuse me. So I'm going to show you how to increase the blanket, then how to maintain that same size so that you can make it into a rectangle, and then how to decrease. So I'm going to make a little swatch here, but note that it is the same exact instructions no matter how big the blanket gets, and that's going to become more apparent as we move forward. So I have chained 6. I'm going to work a double crochet into the 4th chain from my hook. So I'm going to skip 1, 2, 3, work a double crochet in that 4th chain, just like that, and then a double crochet in each of the remaining 2 chains. Now because we are just starting our blanket, we're going to be increasing, so I'm going to chain 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and repeat those steps. I'm going to work into the 4th chain with a double crochet, and then in the following chain, and in the chain after that. Oh, something wonky happened with that one. There we go. Goodness. Okay. Now we are ready to attach this square to our first square. So this is kind of around row 1, I guess you could say, and this is row 2. Now I'm going to slip stitch into this chain 3 space, just like so. Chain 3, and work 3 double crochets all into that chain 3 space. Okay, I'm going to show you that again. So again, we are still increasing. Every time you are on an increase row, you're going to do this same repeat. So chain 6, double crochet into the 4th chain from the hook, and in each following chain. Make sure this is turned to the wrong side, and slip stitch into the chain 3 space. Chain 3 again, and work 3 double crochets into that chain 3 space. And again, slip stitch into the next chain 3 space, chain 3, and 3 double crochets. You're going to start seeing a pattern really quickly with this blanket, and that's why it is so good for a project like this. It's mindless, it's easy to customize, and it shows off all of the different colors in such a unique way. Chain 6, work into the 4th chain from the hook, and in each following chain, slip stitch to the chain 3 space, chain 3, and work 3 double crochets. slip stitch to the chain 3 space, chain 3, and work 3 double crochets. And last one for this round, slip stitch, chain 3, and work 3 double crochets. I'm going to show you this one more time. Again, this is making both sides of our blanket grow. Chain 6, turn, work into the 4th chain from the hook, and in the next 2 chains, slip stitch to the next chain 3 space, chain 3, and 3 double crochets. And we're just going to do that all the way across. Slip stitching into the chain 3 space, chaining 3, and work 3 double crochets. Just kind of think of it as 3. Chain 3 space, chain 3, 3 double crochets, all the way across. It really is that simple. Okay, I'm almost my last square. And there we go. Chain 3 and 3 double crochets. Now I'm going to work a few more rows of increases, and then I will come back and show you how to maintain this same size so that you can make your blanket into a rectangle. Okay, so I have finished increasing my blanket as big as it's going to be. Now keep in mind, this is just a swatch. Your blanket is obviously going to be lots and lots bigger than this. However, now I am going to show you how to make this into a rectangle. Now, if you want your blanket to be a square, that is totally okay. Just skip over this section and I'm going to show you how to do that too. But if you want to make it into a rectangle to result in a rectangular blanket instead of just a square, let me show you how to do that. So, what we're going to do, I'm just going to lay this flat so that you can really see it. I'm going to decrease on this side and increase on this side. What that's going to do is maintain the width that I have here. So imagine this being the bottom of my blanket. But because I'm increasing on this side, this is going to continue to grow squares. So it's going to get longer and longer the more rows I do. Now, if I'm going to do like a throw blanket or a blanket big enough to kind of cover the top of my bed or something like that, I want it to be about 50 inches by 60 inches. So I would work until this measures 50 inches. Then I would start maintaining my stitch count so that I can make it into a rectangle until this measures 60 inches. Then I would be ready to decrease on both sides. So let me show you how to do that. To decrease, we're going to chain 1 and turn. Then we're going to slip stitch in each of these double crochets. So I'm going to work a slip stitch in this stitch, slip stitch in the next stitch, and then slip stitch in the following stitch. Lastly, I'm going to slip stitch into this chain 3 space, and then I'm going to work my standard square. So chain 3 and work 3 double crochets. And then if you'll notice, if I were to lay this flat again, that is how this square is going to be. So you can see that I didn't work along this square except for slip stitches. So it didn't grow, it just stayed the width that it was. And now I'm going to work all across these blocks. So I'm going to put my loop back on my hook here and continue just like normal. So I am slip stitching, chaining 3, and working 3 double crochets. So I'm going to work all the way across here, and I'll meet you back when I get to the end. Okay, I'm on my second to last square, so I am chaining 3 and working 3 double crochets. And then into the last square, I'm just going to do it completely as normal. Slip stitch and chain 3, and then do 3 double crochets. And then, like I said, this is the side that we're going to continue to grow. So we stopped growing on this side, we're going to grow on this side, so we're going to increase here. That's what we're going to do on this next row. So I'm going to chain 6, just like normal. Work into that 4th chain. And in each following chain. And then proceed across your row. Whoops. Proceed across your row as normal. Goodness. Here we go. And you're going to work all the way until you get to that last chain 3 space. And I'll meet you back here. Okay, so I'm on my second to last square. So I'm going to slip stitch and chain 3. And work 3 double crochets. And there we go. Now, this is technically our last square, but as you can see, it's flat across 2. That means that this is our decrease side. So I'm just going to slip stitch into that chain 3, and then chain 1 and turn and decrease. So when you're working these first couple of rows using this method, it can be a little bit confusing because it doesn't look much different. So one thing that I like to do is place a stitch marker on this side so that I know this is my decrease side. When I get to this side, I decrease. And that way that just reminds me of what I'm doing so that I don't make a mistake and have to do it back because, of course, that isn't super fun. So I'm going to show you these 2 rows once more so that you can get the hang of it. Again, this is our decrease side, so I have chained 1, and now I'm going to slip stitch across each of these double crochets. Slip stitch into that chain 3, and then work a square as normal. And then we're going to work all the way across. Okay, I'm on my second to last square, so I'm chaining 3 and working 3 double crochets. And then I'm just going to work another square as normal. Slip stitch, chain 3, and work 3 double crochets. Because again, this is the side that we are still increasing on. Now, as you can see, it is now a rectangle. This side is the same what it was when I stopped increasing, and because I've kept increasing on this side, it is now longer and it forms a rectangle. At least it will when I finish this section here. So again, of course yours will be much bigger than mine. Keep that in mind. But of course it wouldn't have been very practical for me to make an entire blanket because you wouldn't have been able to see it to its fullest extent like you can here when it's all fits in the screen. So now I'm going to finish off this section so that it is a finished blanket. The way that I'm going to do that is super simple. I am just going to decrease on each side now. So let me show you how to do that. It's exactly the same as what we were doing earlier. We're just going to decrease on this side too instead of only on this side. So I'm going to chain 1 and turn and slip stitch in each double crochet across, which of course should be 3, and then slip stitch into that chain 3 space. And then I'm going to chain 3 and work all the way down my blanket as normal. Okay, so I have gotten to the end of my row, and now I'm just going to slip stitch to this last chain 3 space, and that is how I decrease. So I'm just going to repeat that again. Chain 1 and turn, slip stitch in each of the following 3 stitches, just like so. Slip stitch into that chain 3 space, and chain 3, and proceed. It really is that simple. Just work all the way until you get to the end of the row, to our last chain 3 space. And you're going to see this start to get smaller and smaller, and each row is going to go by quicker and quicker because there's less and less squares. I love this part because you can just see the end in sight. And of course on a little square like this, you're going to see the end real quick. In a full-on blanket, it won't come as quick. And there we go. This is my last square, I believe. Yep, so I'm to my last chain 3 space. And I'm just going to slip stitch, chain 1, and turn. And I'm just going to repeat that until I finish off this rectangle. Slip stitching across. Just like that. And then continue. So I'm going to finish off this rectangle and then I'll meet you back here. Okay, so I have gotten to where I only have 2 squares remaining. I have chained 1 and now I'm just going to slip stitch as normal across this square. So work a slip stitch in each double crochet. Slip stitch into the chain 1 space. And we're just going to work 1 square. So chain 3 and work 3 double crochets into that chain 3 space just as normal. And then slip stitch to this chain 3 space on the last square. And that's it. Your blanket is done. Now this blanket took me like 20 minutes. If only it was actually that fast, right? Okay, so I cut my yarn and pulled it through. And that is it, guys. This is such a versatile pattern, and that's what I love so much about it. And you noticed from mine how the stripes all go diagonally, and I just love the way that it looks. I think it's so unique. It's crazy, but in the most beautiful and fun way, and that's what I love about it. So I hope you found this tutorial helpful. Let me know in the comments if there was any other tutorials that you would like to see me do, any other Scrappy blanket related videos that you'd like to see. I will definitely do a video showing you how to add a border to this, so stay tuned for that. Of course, there are so many different variations that you can make on this blanket. My next Scrappy blanket is actually going to be composed of squares just like this. So I'm going to make rectangles, exactly like this, a whole bunch of them, and then I'll attach them all together and make a big blanket that way, and I am super excited about it. So let me know in the comments what you are planning to make using this method, and again, I hope you found this tutorial helpful. Please be sure to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and I will catch you all next time. Bye!